Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Today I'm sharing cards I made using Love From Lizi's October 2019 card kit. Unfortunately, this card kit is now sold out, but there are some add-ons available, and I will include a link in the description box if you are interested in checking out any of those items. The only way to guarantee receiving a kit is to be a subscriber, and I will also include that link in the description box. So let's go ahead and get started with card number 1. The pattern paper included in the kit was solid on one side, and then it had some tone-on-tone little polka dots on the other side. The kit also included a full 12 by 12 sheet of stickers. So I'm going to use this floral scallop border and just putting it right underneath this large banner. And I made sure to trim those scallops right to the edge. That way I didn't have any of them just sort of halfway on. I like to have the full scallops, if that makes sense. And the kit also includes a whole bunch of these wood icons, these little wood pieces. So I decided I'm going to do some heat embossing on it. I'm using my tweezers to hold this little wood piece, and then I'm just kind of smooshing it into my Versamark ink pad. And yes, it's a very stained ink pad. I have one that's like perfect looking, and then I have one that's sort of stained. So depending on what project I'm working on, that determines which one I'm going to pull out. After I get sufficient ink on this little bird, then I use some of Love From Lizi's embossing powder. This is the warm navy color. Used my heat tool to heat set all of that. And while it was still a little bit damp, I did kind of dip it back into some of that loose powder and then heat set it again. And the kit also includes a whole bunch of ephemera. So I'm using the little house, and I debated about adding the tree, changed my mind on that one. I have one of the little sentiment banners. This is also an ephemera piece. So I'm sort of making just a little bit of a scene with that bird kind of flying near the house. I'm going to pop up the sentiment using some foam dimensional tape. And then once I get that in place, I'll add some adhesive to the back of the bird. I used Ranger's multi-medium matte. It always adheres wood pieces or other little embellishments really nicely on a card. And then I felt like the sentiment needed just a little something extra, so I'm using one of the dies that's included in the kit. Cut out 5 of these little floral pieces, trimming them down, because if I thought about this before I had put my sentiment banner down, they would have fit underneath there a little easier, but that's okay, this still works out. And I used some of the pattern paper. So all of the pattern paper is polka dot on one side and then solid on the other. So it's hard to tell in the video, but 2 of these have the polka dot side, and then the rest I just cut it out of that solid green side. So I adhered all of those in place, and there is my finished card, and this is card number 1. Now moving on to card number 2, I decided to use a card sketch. This is Operation Write Home sketch number 146. If you watched my unboxing video, you'll see lots of the add-ons that I picked up to go along with this kit. Always the specialty cardstock, since it's beautiful, and then I have the 6x8 pattern paper. So that's how you're going to see some other designs beside just that polka dot paper. The kit has some 12 by 12 sheets with these cut aparts. This is a 3x4 cut apart. And then I'm using some of the brand new straight peel-offs from Love From Lizi. They are a little bit wider than the standard pinstripe peel-offs. They're 1/8 of an inch wide, and the whole sheet is the same width. So I used a gold one just to mat that plaid paper or checkered paper. And I'm going to add this little banner using some of the Mere specialty paper. Layering all of this using some blue cardstock. And the kit does include 1 sheet of this really nice blue. And then I do include some additional cardstock, since I always need more since I add so many layers to my cards. So finishing touch, I'm going to add the little pattern paper strip to the inside of the card. I don't always show it, but I generally will add that to my cards just for some little extra detail. And then final finishing touch on this card, I'm going to use a few of the gold sequins that are included in this sequin mix. So overall, very simple card, but I love all of the extra shine and sparkle. So that is card number 2. Now moving on to card number 3. This sketch is by Mojo Monday. This is number 524. And doesn't that look like a fun sketch? This is actually the first time I'm using it. I'm using some of the polka dot pattern paper for the background and then some of the add-on pattern paper for these two 2-inch strips. So one of them has a bunch of little sentiments and then the other's got a beautiful floral design. And then for those thin strips that go across the card, this is some pearlescent, like a blush color paper. Again, part of one of the add-on packs. And the specialty cardstock bundles do sell out very quickly. So I'm not sure what is still available. I will add a link in the description box for all of the products used. And just to add a little bit of interest on those strips, I'm using the beautiful rose gold peel-offs. This is the sheet that's included in the kit. I absolutely love this color. It's just so lovely. So I'm using the thinnest of the widths and just putting one on each side of those to the pearlescent pieces. And I did cut the peel off just a little bit longer. I'm just wrapping the ends behind, and then I'll adhere that card panel onto some of this blue cardstock. And I do have a circle cut out, so I'm going to show you that right about now. The stitched circle die is part of Love From Lizi's background builder sets. It has a whole bunch of different dies that make it really simple to create a different card design. So I'm going to add that right about in the center. I'm following this sketch fairly closely. And then this floral piece is one of the add-on products. It's a chipboard sticker piece. And then I'm going to use one of the sentiments included in the sticker sheet. And I noticed the very end of it had a little bit of the adjacent color, so I just trimmed that off and then cut a small little fishtail in the end. And I'm going to layer that on some more of this blue cardstock, just to make it stand out just a little bit more. So I'll add some foam dimension to the back of this. And I'll just put this right underneath that floral chipboard piece, overlapping a little bit of the circle as well. I love these colors, very comforting, very springy. And then just a finishing touch, I'm going to add a couple of the heart gems that are included in the kit, and then my little piece of pattern paper on the inside of the card. So there is my finished card. That is card number 3. And now moving on to card number 4, I'm going to use another card sketch. This is Sketch Saturday number 476. Now for this card, I used every single color of the pattern paper that's included in the kit, and I cut them out using, again, Love From Lizi's background builder set, just this stitched rectangle piece, and I'm making sort of a little rainbow. So I'm trying to line them all up, making sure to get them fairly straight. I find it easier if you do the outside 2 pieces first and then kind of work your way in. At least you're more likely to get them straight. Mine aren't perfect, but I think I got them close enough. Isn't that pretty with all those fun colors? I'm going to go ahead and add this white panel onto some of the blue cardstock. Put my card front onto a card base. And then I pulled out another one of the cut aparts. This is my favorite one since it has a camera on it. Love cameras. And I'm going to layer this on some glitter cardstock. It's a rose gold color, so it's really pretty. I did use some liquid adhesive to adhere it on that cardstock since I find regular ATG does not hold paper very well on any of that glitter or specialty paper. Then to kind of anchor this cut apart, I'm going to use some more of the peel-offs. So I'm going to use 3 different peel-offs, putting them right in the center of the card. And I really could have used just some partial pieces since most of it's going to be covered up with that cut apart. And then I could have saved some of these beautiful rose gold peel offs, but I didn't. I only did on that final third piece. And I'll just pop this piece up using some more foam dimension. And I'm not following this sketch super close. A lot of times I really just use them for some inspiration. So now I'm going to use one of the sentiment stickers. This one is Hello Love. And I decided it doesn't need to be matted at all. The black really has enough contrast. Just pop it up using some foam squares. And then just a finishing touch, I'm going to add some glossy accents all over the heart on that camera lens, just to give it some really pretty shine. Making sure to fill it pretty completely, and if I got any little bubbles, trying to avoid those as well. I did go outside of the heart and just wipe that away real quick. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 4. So now moving on to card number 5, and I'm not going to use a card sketch this time, although I'm pretty sure I've used a card sketch that looks like this before. I think after I've used so many card sketches, the designs sort of stick in my head. So for the background paper, using that tone-on-tone green polka dot paper, and then some of the plaid paper for this large banner. And I believe this plaid paper is part of the kit. It's the opposite side of one of the cut-apart sheets. And then I'm going to add one of these peach doilies, and then also use this really beautiful burlap twine. It has gold threads mixed in it, so it's real pretty, but it is on the thicker side. So I wrap that around the card twice, and I adhere those ends to the back using some score tape. And because this twine is on the thicker side, I'm going to pop up this whole panel using some foam dimensional tape. So I'll make sure to fill in most of that panel just so there aren't any sides that are sagging. Remove all of those backers, and then I'll adhere it onto my card base. And I did cut an extra little piece so I could tie a bow in that upper left-hand corner. And it was really easy to tie. I wasn't sure with it being on the thicker side. So I'm using another one of the ephemera pieces with this beautiful floral bouquet. I'll pop that up using some more foam tape. And since the ephemera isn't as thick as the chipboard, I want to make sure to get good coverage so don't have any sides sagging. I'll remove all of those backers and then just put this floral piece right in the center of that doily. And I pulled out the sticker sheet again using one of the sentiments. This sticker sheet has so many pieces on there, lots of great sentiments, and this would be really good for scrapbooking as well. So I did decide to layer the sticker using some black cardstock. Then I'm just going to pop it up using some thin foam squares. It's not quite as thick as my regular foam dimension. Put that right underneath the little flower, and then a finishing touch, I'll just add 3 of the sequins in the lower right hand corner. I thought about putting a couple of them in the center of the flowers, but then I changed my mind. But goodness, these sequins are so staticky, I kept getting them stuck to my fingers. So let's just go ahead and adhere those sequins in that lower corner. The little jewel picker tool is always very handy, so you don't have to always try to pick up and remove those sequins. Add a little pattern paper piece to the inside of the card, and there is my finished card. This is card number 5. So next up is card number 6. Again, I'm not going to use a sketch at all. So for this card, I'm actually going to create a little indoor scene. And it's all going to be this beautiful soft green, kind of a mint color in the background. So I used the same pattern paper, cut a strip for the bottom with the polka dot paper. So that's going to be the carpet, and then the wall is just the solid pattern paper. And then to add the little baseboard trim, I guess, I'm using one of the white straight peel-offs. And then it pulled out a bunch of the ephemera pieces. I'm just going to move them around and try to create a little scene. So I have my little chair, this little suitcase. I love this little lamp hanging down. And then the sticker sheet has a whole bunch of pieces as well that you could use, and some of them are a little smaller scale. So I'm using that same star lamp just as the sticker, since it's just a little bit smaller. The little picture frame with those 4 hearts. Love the little bookshelf with the plant. I keep changing my mind, not sure what to put next to that chair. There's so many different options. You can see I just keep moving them around, changing my mind, and then I do end up going right back to that suitcase. I think it's a suitcase. So I do pop up the chair and then also that suitcase using some of the thin foam dimensional squares. And overall, this card's super simple, but I love just that little scene that you can create so easily using the ephemera, some stickers, and some pattern paper. Once I decided placement, wasn't sure if I wanted them off to the right or to the left, but decided center worked out really well. And then I'm looking for a sentiment that will work nicely with this card. So I decided to use the "You Are My Home," but it was too long, so I just snipped it in half. And I'm just going to add the sentiment in the lower left-hand corner in the carpet, just stacked on top of each other. And then a finishing touch, I'm going to use a couple of the heart gems. I couldn't decide where I wanted to put them. I felt like I needed to have one around the sentiment, but it just didn't look right. So instead I put 3 of them in the lower right hand corner of the card. I'm just trying to make sure I get them on straight and evenly spaced as well. I thought maybe 2 is enough, but we're going to go ahead with 3 since there was enough room between the chair and, I don't know, I guess the wall. So there is my finished card, and that is card number 6. And this one was so fun to make. I don't always do scenes. So now moving on to card number 7. This is a fairly simple design, but I was determined to use the little stick pins that are included in the kit. And I think this design works perfectly just to add a few or even just one of the pins. I have the pink polka dot paper for the background, layering that on some gold satin mirror cardstock, again some of the specialty cardstock. I have one of the doilies all the way off to the right hand side, and I just trimmed off the edge so it was flush. And here are all those pins that are included in the kit, and I am only going to use one. I also have the ephemera piece that's included that says love. So I took a piece of the twine and then I separated the gold out from the burlap pieces. So it's just these little threads, and then I tied them around the top part of the pin. And the pin is going to go right behind, kind of right between the V and the E on the love sentiment. I put a small glue dot behind the heart on the pin to adhere it to the card. And then to make sure the pin isn't going to slip around, this is where that sentiment comes in handy. I'm going to pop up that sentiment using some foam dimensional tape. And by having that pin right between the 2 letters, now it's not going to be able to shift at all on the card. So a couple finishing touches. I'm going to add a few small banners in the upper left hand corner using some more of that gold cardstock, and then also the lighter pink pattern paper, but just the solid side. Adhere those onto the card. The specialty cardstocks always are quite a bit thicker than regular pattern paper, so I am just putting a thin piece of that gold cardstock on the right hand side of that pink banner. That way it's nice and even on the card. So I'm pulling out the sequins to add some little finishing touches. And I'm using only the gold color just because I felt like any of the other colors didn't quite match on this card. And sorry, I did sort of drift down off camera just a little bit. I do notice it and push up for a little bit later. So I'm just going to adhere those in place using the multimedia mat and my jewel picker since that's so handy. I'm going to put my little piece of pattern paper on the inside of the card, and there is the finished card, and this is card number 7. So now moving on to card number 8, I did pull out another card sketch. This is MFT sketch number 268. And if you are interested in any of the card sketches I show during my videos, I do share all of that information on my coordinating blog post, and that link is in the description box below. So for this card, I'm using some of the add-on paper, a couple of the pattern papers, and I'm adding this little scalloped border to put a little bit of separation between those two pattern papers. And then for that thin strip going across the card, I'm going to use some more of the rose gold peel-offs. I decided to use 2 of them, so they're 2 different widths just to add a little extra shine. And I didn't want to wrap them around this blue layered cardstock just because it would show, so I am just using a craft knife and snipping them or trimming them right at the edge of that pattern paper. So go ahead and put this panel onto a card base or card front onto my card base. Add a little strip of pattern paper. And now I pulled out one of the craft tags that's included in the kit and the stamp set. This is the first time I pulled out the stamp set, and it's a beautiful stamp set. I'm using this old-fashioned telephone, and I'm going to heat emboss it. I used some Versamark ink, and then I'm using the copper rose embossing powder, which once you heat set it, it has a rose gold look to it, so it's really pretty. You can't always catch that in the video, but it does have a beautiful shine, and it matches really closely with the new peel-offs. So because this is stamped on craft cardstock, it doesn't show up a whole lot, so I'm just going to do a real quick coloring using some colored pencils. And these are my daughter's. I don't have any real nice colored pencil set simply because I don't color very often. And again, it doesn't always show in the video, but this does add some nice color. So I'm just using some yellow and some teal. I pulled out the pink. It's more of a red, but I thought it didn't really look great on there, so left that one out. So once I felt there was enough color, I'm going to add some of the twine through the little hole on the tag. Just pull it through as a little loop, snip off the ends. And I thought about adding some of the peel-offs to the tag, but I changed my mind. Instead, I'm going to add one of the sentiments from the stamp set. But first, I'll add some foam dimensional tape to the back of this tag. And then using some light green cardstock, actually this is I think the pattern paper, just that solid side. I'm going to stamp the Let's Chat sentiment, and isn't that a beautiful font? So I'll cut some little fishtails on both of the ends. And then just adhere that to the bottom of the tag using some ATG. And then finishing touch, I'm going to use some more of the sequins. And this is the largest size. It's kind of an iridescent, a clear, maybe a cream color. So I'll just glue 3 of those in that upper right-hand corner. And there is my finished card, and this is card number 8. The stamp set that's included in the kit has lots of opportunity for coloring, and Lizi does release the stamp sets the following month, so you can always purchase those individually. So next up is card number 9, and again, this is a very simple card design, but with all of the cut-aparts and ephemera included in the kit, it's really simple to pop together some beautiful cards. So I'm using this plaid paper for the background, the lighter pink paper with the polka dots, and I cut out both of those using a stitched rectangle die. And now I have some of this beautiful lace. And it's going to go across the middle of the card, and even though you won't see very much of it, I still want to make sure it's fairly straight, so I will use that full piece. I use some score tape in the middle to adhere it in place, and then I'll hold the ends on the back side of that piece using some more score tape. Attach my card front onto a card base. And because this panel is going over a big piece of this lace, I want to make sure it doesn't pop off, so I am going to adhere that whole piece using score tape. Score tape or red line tape is always handy to have since it's super sticky and it holds so many things down that ATG would otherwise not be as successful. So I'm going to use some more of the ephemera. I have the hello sentiment, and then a little bouquet, and then also just a single piece of a little floral piece. So I adhered the floral pieces down first, and then I'm going to pop up the sentiment using some thin foam squares. I'm going to cover part of the little floral design, especially covering up those two ephemera pieces so you don't see that I have two instead of just one. Using one of the little tab stickers, and then just a finishing touch, I'm going to put a couple of the sequins just in that corner below the sentiment. So I'm trying to decide what color I like, and I do end up settling with the gold. I think it just had more contrast and looks really beautiful with all of this pattern paper. So I'll adhere using some liquid adhesive. And there is my finished card, and that is card number 9. So now moving on to card number 10. I'm going to do another scene, but this is going to be an outside scene. I'm going to start off with stamping a sentiment in that upper left-hand corner. I'll be heat embossing it, so first I treated the paper using some anti-static powder, stamped it using some Versamark ink, and then the embossing powder is the brilliant blue color. This, of course, is Love From Lizi's. Go ahead and heat set that. I thought using white would work because I kind of wanted it to look like a cloud, but wasn't sure it would show up enough, so I decided to use this pretty blue instead. So this blue piece is basically the sky, but I decided to still cover that whole card front with it. And now I have two little landscape pieces cut out using some stitched or border dies. So on the one that's going to be in the front, I'm using the tiny little floral pieces or leaf pieces that are included in the stamp set, and just added those using some green ink just to add a little interest. So I have the polka dot paper for the back hill, and then the front hill I'm just using the solid side of that pattern paper. And now I'm pulling out a few of the chipboard houses. And I also have the ephemera tree. So I'm trying to make it look like there's a distance between the two houses, and it's actually going to be 3 houses. So I'll have a sticker along with the ephemera, or not the ephemera, the chipboard houses. Kept changing my mind which house I wanted to put on that left-hand side. Thought about using the mailbox, but that mailbox is really large compared to the houses, so it didn't look right to me. So I decided to use one of the sticker houses. That's the yellow one. It had a little sentiment on the bottom, and I just snipped it off. So now I'm trying to do a placement for the 3. Definitely not a realistic scene by any means, but I'm going to use different dimension for each of the houses. So for the one on the left, I don't have any dimension, and the one all the way on the right, I'm going to use some fairly thick dimension. Of course, after I assemble everything, I think I should have made the house on the right just a little bit thicker. So now the pink house in the middle, I'm going to use one of these little action springs that's included in the kit. And they're very thick. So this is not a card you will be able to easily mail. So I'm going to adhere the little action piece, action spring, I'm not sure what those are called, onto the back of the little pink house using some score tape. and then also some liquid adhesive. And like I said, this is really thick. It's probably a good inch or maybe a little thicker than an inch. So it felt like that yellow house was way off in the distance, so I decided to add just a little bit of foam dimension behind it. So it had some dimension. Still not very realistic because the house off to the right seems like it's further back. And then just a little more interest on the card, a little more detail using one of the floral ephemera pieces, popping that up using some more foam tape. Put that in the lower right hand corner, and then just a finishing touch, add one of the chipboard hearts right above the sentiment. So there is my finished card, and the house does have a little bit of a wobble to it. If you kind of touch it to the side, it does a little bit of a spring. So now here's just a quick recap of the 10 cards I made using Love From Lizi's October 2019 card kit. This card kit is sold out, but there are add-ons still available. I will have links in the description box if you want to check any of those out, or if you want to sign up for a subscription. That way you'll be guaranteed to receive her kits, and her kits are always so much fun. Now let me just show you everything I have left over from the kit. So I still have one full sheet of cardstock and then almost a full sheet of the yellow, quite a bit of the pattern paper. I have one full sheet of the 12 by 12 cut-aparts. I didn't use any of those 2 by 2. Lots of the stickers left over. I have 3 of the peach doilies. And then tons of the ephemera. This kit included so much. 2 more of these little action springs. And then almost all of the little wood pieces, since I only used the one. Lots of the sequin mix. 1 more of the craft tags. About a foot left of the lace. Tiny bit of that twine. And then there is glitter, but I ended up not using it at all. Quite a few of those little heart gems. And then all but one of those pins are still left over. And then lots of the peel-offs. And then I still have quite a few of the dies. I think I only used one this time. I have all of the stamps, of course. Lots of great sentiments and images on that. So still quite a bit of product left over to make plenty more cards. And it won't be long, and the November Love From Lizi kit will be coming out. So if you are interested in subscribing, it's not too late to sign up to receive that kit. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.